Hey Gators and sports fans, get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say, it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Good morning and welcome to a Wednesday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. It's Wednesday. That means we have JC, second portion of the show. We're going to talk to what everybody loves to talk about, Gator football recruiting. We're going to have Blake Alderman from Swamp 24/7 Sports give us his rundown on everything that happened this past weekend, what's going on this weekend, and in the summertime for all these Gator recruits that everybody loves. So here's what we got. We're going to be going to the Titan tomorrow hotline, and we're going to be joined by Corn Dog. Good morning, Corn Dog. How are you?
All right, QB, here I am, baby. We are in the heart of the May-June spring/summer postseason for college baseball and hockey and the NBA. So I really love this time of year. Plus, we've got the U.S. Open coming in just over a week. And then we have summer football news and notes. You're going to talk recruiting with Blake. There are reports surrounding college football that the entity is expanding to a 12 playoff team system, which I assume would mean with nearly 90% of college football fans wanting this to happen, there's an assumption that you would have a five teams
Power
from
Five
the Power
conferences.
Five. Then you'd have a group of five, and then you'd have some at-larges. And I think the hardest thing for these college administrators to wrap their hands around is just simply the logistics of making this type of thing happen. And I don't think it would ruin the regular season in college football. I think there's enough pride in everybody's school that even if you had a postseason/tournament like this in college football, every game would still matter. This idea that if you dilute the college postseason with more games, which is not diluting it, it's making it better, then all of a sudden that game in September between Florida and Alabama isn't as meaningful. Well, that's just not true at all. You know why it's not true? Because you're going to have an enormous amount of people showing up for that game. You're going to have huge business opportunities for the host team. You're going to have huge traveling opportunities for the visiting team, and everybody's going to take advantage of it because everybody wants to see these teams play. If one thing COVID did for us that might have been a good thing is that it made us hungrier for college sports in general, but especially for college football to come back in terms of the way it should be with full stadiums, big tailgating, big planning, and big business opportunities economically for all of these towns. And that's
the best thing that came out of COVID. The best thing that came out of COVID was if you're a golfer, you get to ride in your own cart. You don't have to ride with somebody else. That was the greatest thing ever. But now courses are getting back to pairing you with another dude. So
unless you own your own cart.
Well, that's true. But I'm talking about if you go to World Golf Village or you go to TPC, you can't take your own cart, dude.
Okay. Look, that's fine. But
you only play one golf course, so
I'm talking about more important, and so do you. But I'm just talking about more important. Well, actually, I'm playing two different golf courses this week, and you'll be at the same one. But I'm talking about college football here, and in college football, this is what COVID did. It made us miss all of this other stuff, and it may have gotten these administrators off their duffs to decide to make it better. And make it better means give the postseason a real meaning. It can't just be the same 4, 5, 6 teams that we see over and over again, even though they're the best, right? So that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, we'll get back to this because I know people want to talk about it. We got a couple texts on the Titan tomorrow text line. It says, "Good morning, guys. FSU's playing good softball right now. Do you think Oklahoma bounces back tonight?"
Unbelievable.
I think Oklahoma wins tonight. I think Oklahoma still wins the series. I just think they're the best. Here's what I can't figure out.
I'll tell you what.
Softball has changed in the circle so much recently because you used to be your one dominant pitcher. Well, everybody's going to this staff now. You know, neither one of them started their so-called ace last night, which makes absolutely no sense to me.
Well, it's the same thing that Patrick Murphy's being criticized for. When Alabama played Florida State in FSU's elimination game, they put the not best pitcher in the circle. Okay, maybe he's warming her up, but does she need 2 days off? I don't think Montana Fouts needed 2 days off. I don't think Pat Murphy thought that Montana Fouts needed 2 days off. But for some reason, he didn't start her in the elimination game for FSU. It wasn't Alabama's elimination game. It was theirs. The pressure was on them. And look, Florida State right now is and I've said, as you have heard, that, and we both agree that Oklahoma's a team to beat. But right now, I don't think anybody's hotter than FSU. You saw them score 8 runs the other night on Alabama. You saw them beat Alabama the first time, 2-0. So listen, they're hot, man. They're running hot. And now they're on the brink of being a repeat winner in less than 3 years, in Oklahoma City. It's a great story for that team.
Yep. We got another Facebook Live here from Gary, brought to you by our Titan MR text line. He said, a softball nugget. Read bio on OU starting pitcher from last night. Nicole May and her dad, Kevin May, played football at UF, but couldn't find any info on him. Looks like Coach Walton missed out on Nicole. Kevin May played football at UF?
I don't remember a Kevin May.
I've never heard of a Kevin May, but we'll look into that. Okay. There's about 5 or 6, maybe 10 schools that get all the top-notch softball girls now.
Yeah, it seems that way.
But I'm going to have our research department look up Kevin May, because that name does not ring a bell, and he would probably be around my age or maybe a little younger.
Yeah.
Got a daughter playing in college. So
anyway, listen, this is I agree with you. I think OU bounces back when we have a deciding game, but I'm not betting against FSU the way they're playing right now. They have won 3 games in dominant fashion to me. Their pitching was dominant the first time they played Alabama. Their hitting and pitching, their hitting was dominant the second time, and then last night. So, good for them. Now, locally, QB, you saw where South Alabama and South Florida played as they battled through weather over the weekend, and South Florida came out on top 6-4, the Bulls. So now we have 2 horns ups playing in their super regional out in Austin, Texas, South Florida and the Longhorns. And
Texas
then
is going to destroy them.
I thought Florida was going to destroy them.
I didn't. Texas is going to destroy South Florida.
It's hashtag horns up and hashtag carry the boat, dude.
Okay, well, burn the boat, and y'all are going to get blown out.
Well, listen, Tampa, Florida is the sports center capital of the state right now. Tampa, Florida is the sports capital of the state, and USF just so happens to be in Tampa, Florida. And by the way, we all know that USF is also going to be hosting the Florida Gators in week 2 of the college football season in Tampa, Florida. You got the Super Bowl champions. You got the American League champions. You got the soon-to-be repeat Stanley Cup champions in Tampa, Florida. It is the capital of the sports universe in the state of Florida. It's in Tampa, bro. Pay attention to what's going on in Tampa. I know you.
I really don't care because South Florida is not beating Texas. South Florida ain't beating Texas. If you got joint pain in your knees, shoulders, hip, or back, they won't go away. You need to check out QC Kinetics for long-lasting relief. No surgery, drugs, or downtime. Schedule your free consultation at QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Call them today, QC Kinetics, 352-400-4550. Speaking with JC on the Titan MR hotline. When we get done with him, we'll be going to Blake Alderman from 24/7
Gator football recruiting.
You got to love recruiting, JC. Don't you get excited for recruiting?
Yeah, so exciting. And here's my white Tampa hat for when they travel, when they play on the road. I just go like that, QB. Look at that.
Yeah, Dan says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators. Why don't these softball teams walk these kids? Back in the day, they would load the bases. Seems like OU could have walked Harding. I'm not sure who Harding is. Maybe that's who. I think Harding is one of the 3-run homers last night, but she's the nine-hole hitter. Florida State is one of those teams that has just gotten hot. They were the 10th seed going in.
Yep.
They were not a power hitting ball club.
Yeah.
And I'll be damned if they're not hitting a bunch of home runs right now.
And 3-run homers is how you win. And listen, they have, I think, 3 or 4 players, maybe more than that, but I think they have at least 3 or 4 who were on that championship team in 2018. So it's good for those girls, man. They had to sit out a year, and now they're back and ready to win another title in their 4-year term at Florida State.
Joseph says here on the Titan MR. No, this is the Melvin Law Facebook Live question or comment. He says, I don't care what's happening in Tampa. USF is not beating Florida. He goes, USF is not beating Florida in football, and that's all that matters. All these other sports are there just to keep us entertained when it's not football season.
Yeah, that's
I agree.
Well, it's because you don't go to Tampa. You don't know anything about Tampa.
So you're not a Tampa resident, so why do you give a damn?
Because I've been to Tampa a bunch, and I know a lot of people there.
And everybody listening to this show has not been to Tampa a bunch?
I don't know if they have or not, but I will tell you that you haven't. And I will also tell you that when you have the American League,
you don't know when I've been to Tampa?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly when you go to Tampa.
Do you have a tracking device on my vehicle? You have no idea when I've been to Tampa.
All right. Well, when was the last time you went?
Like 2 weeks ago.
And did you go watch the sporting event?
No, I don't give a damn about watching sports.
Well, see, that's all I said. All I said was Tampa's the sports capital of Florida, which is true. That's true. That's a true statement. You've got the Super Bowl champion, the American League champion, the Stanley Cup champion.
I'm not a guy that buys jerseys.
And you got the Gainesville regional champion.
But okay? I don't buy T-shirts and jerseys and hats of sports teams.
You know what I love listening to Florida fans. I love Florida fans actually responding to somebody who says South Florida's hosting the Gators, as if we already don't know or assume who's going to win that football game. Okay.
Well, South Florida's not a very good football.
No, they're not. They're really bad.
They beat us in football.
Oh, well, no.
We got serious issues.
Just cancel the season if that happens.
Yeah, it would be a disaster.
Just forget about it. But I know it's not going to happen, but they're still playing the Gators in Tampa. Now, Tampa will probably see as many Gator fans at the game as USF fans. I'm not arguing that at all.
There will be 55,000 Gator fans and about 10,000.
It's a home. Yes. Home and home for USF in Florida.
All right. Well, JC, I didn't know you were paying taxes.
Let me ask you this. How come they don't do a home and home with UCF?
Oh, I don't know that. You got to ask the athletic director on that.
Well, Danny White wanted that, and Florida said you have to play 2 here, and then we'll do 1 there. And UCF said no. That's why.
Yeah. Refresh your vehicle and your brand with the vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. June is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane to receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. Speaking with JC, we'll be getting to our Peachland Dentistry golf picks. Have you studied up your golf picks yet, JC?
Well, since I won last week and I actually picked the winner who didn't get to win, I have been excited about picking golf this week.
You know, they're playing somewhere they've never played before this week. But we're not gonna get to that yet. I wanted to ask you,
Congaree, baby.
Real quick, in the NBA last night, if you missed it, the Utah Jazz beat the Clippers. And the 76ers, even up their series, destroyed JC's Hawks. So now he's ordered a 76ers hat.
No, that'll never happen. But I do like the Hawks, and they took home court advantage. So we'll see how that goes. It's not.
I want to know what happened to your Colorado Avalanche. Their series, they're down. In
the Vegas Golden Knights have the best line that I was unaware of up until Game 4, and that is Riley Smith. That is Jonathan Marchessault, and I'm for some reason drawing a blank on this. William Karlsson. That is the best line going in hockey right now. They win in overtime 3-2 at Colorado. That's 3 straight wins over the Avalanche. That was unseen after Colorado went ahead 2-0 and easily won ahead 2-0. Vegas has found their feet underneath them now, their skates. They've won 3 in a row. They will, or Colorado will eventually win that series and play Montreal and probably have their way with the Canadiens. And then the winner will play Tampa, who's going to play the winner of New York and Boston. New York is the island.
Your Bruins, one of your other 10 NHL teams, is facing elimination tonight.
Well, the Bruins had some unfortunate penalties that they were disputing quite a bit, and the Islanders took advantage of it with 3 power play goals in Game 5. Boston has to win Game 6 and Game 7 to play Tampa. New York just has to win one of those 2, and they will play Tampa. Tampa won last night 2-0 over Carolina. They won that series in 5. Right now, they're the best team in the East. We'll see if they can hold on.
Okay, so let's get back to the college football expansion.
So I was looking at that. You're looking at six possible wild card teams. 6.
Yeah, so I saw where so basically it's the 5 Power 5 conference champs. One group of 5 gets in, and then 6 at larges. I saw a tweet, and I meant to take a picture of it to read about it today, and I forgot, but it was through Peter Burns from SEC Network. And he went like the last 5 or 6 years. If we had a 12-team playoff in the last 5 or 6 years, there would have been 4 SEC teams in every year.
Yeah, and that just shows you the strength of this league. According to Pete Thamel, who writes for Yahoo Sports, I don't know if you've had him on here before or not, the consensus among top campus officials across the country is now calling for a 12-team playoff. In fact, it's starting to look like that number could be the next step towards yet another round of changes. The only question I have is the timing of all this. There are television contracts. There are contractual obligations with conferences. I don't know what the timing would this be. If they come out and said, sure, we're going to have a 12-team playoff in the year 2031, I won't care. Hopefully
but my question is, okay, I thought they were supposed to decide on this in the next couple of weeks. I could be 100% wrong. But why?
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, you have contracts with, TV networks. But you know what you can do with contracts? You can tear them up.
You tear them up.
And write new ones.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100% right. That's why I've never, ever, ever understood why when something is so-called set in stone, you can't just get the stone and destroy it and try something else on another stone, write it in another stone. The thing is that you can do whatever you want. This is sports. This is not the Supreme Court getting involved in anything here. You can do what you want to do. If these people weren't so tone deaf in the administrative world of college sports and athletics, they would listen to the fans, unlike what the University of Florida did with this baseball regional playing at 12 o'clock on a Friday afternoon, unlike what the Big Ten did with their COVID-19 disaster of a course of action last year. So, these administrators just need to listen. I know they're all about the money. They are in charge of the money. But the fans don't show, guess what happens to the money? If the fans don't watch, guess what happens to the money? It changes. So hopefully the tone deafness of college athletic administrators and presidents starts to change. And that's what would make a 12-team playoff a reality. I would be happy with a 6 or 8-team playoff. But if you want to go 12, it's not going to dilute the regular season. Don't anyone believe any sports guy that gets on a podcast, a radio, or a television station give their opinion that it would make the Florida-Tennessee game meaningless. It absolutely would not, because if you have ever been to a Florida-Tennessee game in the last 30 years, or a Florida-Mississippi State game, or an Alabama-Georgia game, or an Auburn-Florida game, you know these games will never be meaningless, in spite of what postseason looks like. That is the most tone-deaf take I've ever heard a sports person who so-called knows the game of sports. You know what it shows? It shows they didn't watch football in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. It shows they don't know history. It shows that they're just wrong, that these games would not mean anything with a 12-game playoff. All you have to do is figure out the logistics. It's not figuring out how to put a man on Mars, okay? It's just not that hard. It really isn't.
Yeah, I agree. And, it's funny to me because it's going to extend the season and make it a lot longer, which I have zero problem with, because the people that sit back there and say, well, these guys, academically, they can't miss this. Football, first of all, the athletes don't miss a whole lot of class, especially football. You leave on a Friday around 5 o'clock, right, and you come back Saturday night after the game. So the people that talk about, it's going to harm their schoolwork and all that, that's total BS.
And then the other objection was the players' health. There's too many.
That's another joke.
That's another joke.
Yeah.
So you know what? Give them 95 scholarships. Give them 100 scholarships. Hell, Bear Bryant took 120 players to UCLA in the 70s, okay? Make the rosters bigger if you have to. Expand the scholarships. You're just going to have more money to be able to do that with the playoffs. It's going to be a moneymaker. We all know this. It's going to be the most popular sport on the planet. We all know this. And by the way, Alabama's been playing 14 and 15 games every year for the last 7 years. Are they suffering? Is Alabama suffering? Because they've been playing 14 to 15 games for the last 7 years. So nobody's suffering, okay? Nobody's suffering, QB.
So Richard wants to know on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, which, by the way, they're the only official law firm partner of the Florida Gators, JC. I don't know if you knew that or not. But Richard, he says, so what is your opinion, JC?
Well, this is something, look, college football is my favorite sport. I've been going to Florida games since the early 1970s when Dad would take me, and Doug Dickey was your head football coach, okay? And John Brantley Sr. was the quarterback, and Jimmy Fisher and Wes Chandler and all those great players, Scott Brantley, Willie Wilder. Listen, I have seen so much college football that I think, qualified to say that administrators can get in the way of making something good become great. And I think a college football playoff makes this sport great. If you're going to sit up there on ESPN in New York and you're going to sit up there and tell me the NBA or Major League Baseball, because all these big cities with the demographics care more about that stuff, then you have ignored the college alumni population in this country. Because if you went to the University of Virginia, you might love the Washington Redskins or the Washington football team or the Baltimore Orioles, but you really love your Virginia Cavaliers. If you went to University of Maryland, Scott Van Pelt, ESPN personality, all he wants to talk about is Maryland when they win something, which is very rare. But when they do, that's what Scott's going to talk about. He doesn't care what LeBron's doing. He doesn't care what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. He cares, but not like those Maryland Terrapins. And when you've got, college football alumni bases are bigger than anything. And that is what counts is college football. It pays the bills. It is the most important sport in the NCAA, period. So it would be the most popular thing on television and on sports talk radio. It would be. It would be a lot more important than the New England Patriots and who their quarterback's going to be. Okay? It just would.
We got a text here on the Titan MR text line from Daryl. He says 12 o'clock kickoff against USF in Tampa sounds like an air conditioner and a recliner to me.
Oh my God. See, here we go again. Here we go again. This is the SEC at work for us, folks. The SEC network or ESPN is going to put that game on at noon, and people are going to faint, all right, if they have to go to that stadium.
Yeah,
it's
hydrate.
just
hydrate.
Let me ask you a question. Since you're SEC big shot, why does LSU always get to play at night?
They don't always get to play at night.
They always get to play at night.
Recently,
99% of the time they're playing at night, QB.
Recently, they have not.
How many 12 o'clock games did they had at Tiger Stadium in the last 10 years? You can't count them on one hand. You can't count them on one hand. You can't.
That's a good homework assignment for you to look up. But ever since the SEC network
I already know the
has
answer.
come on board, they have not played as many night games. I will say that. John says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Mellon Law, the thing that makes no sense is the FCS, Division II, Division III have been doing these playoffs for years, and only Division I doesn't do it. And I agree. People say the bowl. You can keep the bowls and still do the playoffs and all this.
You can.
So
yes,
they'll figure it out.
There are more than 12 teams in college football, as we know, and those teams will still get rewarded for their seasons by going to the Bahamas Bowl or the Gator Bowl or whatever. And that is absolutely true. You can keep those things intact. You could call one of the playoff games a bowl game. They do that right now, actually. The Alabama Crimson Tide won the Rose Bowl last year in where the hell they play them in? New Orleans?
In Dallas.
So Dallas, right? Sorry, in Dallas. They won the Rose Bowl in Dallas. You can do whatever the hell you want is the point. You can. And you can't let these things like the Rose Bowl dictate what goes on for the entire game. You can't let that happen. Nobody cares about your Tournament of Roses parade. Nobody. So just, forget about this tradition.
JC.
Well, great. They have about this much to do with college football, okay, out there in L.A.
Before we get to our Peachland Dentistry golf picks, I want to tell you about This Day in Sports is brought to you by our good friends at Comfort Temp. They actually came and hooked up, cleaned up my AC as well. Comfort is our business. Peace of mind is our promise. Comfort Temp is now hiring team members with all levels of experience. Great culture and benefits and opportunity for growth. A $1,000 signing bonus for qualified positions. Call them today to learn more about a career with Comfort Temp. 352-376-2366. All right. This Day in Sports. I bet you remember this one, JC. This was unbelievable. 25 years ago on this date, Warren Morris. Do you know who Warren Morris is?
Yes, I do. And he ripped one right over the right center field fence to beat the Miami Hurricanes and Ron Frazier at the College World Series. They were wearing yellow or gold and white jerseys. I saw that happen. That happened today?
Warren Morris hit a walk-off home run to win the LSU's third College World Series.
Skipper.
To this day, it's the only walk-off home run ever in the College World Series championship.
Yeah, at the old Rosenblatt Stadium. I got the privilege of going there twice. That LSU team was a dynasty, and probably, I guess you could say, still is. Guess what? They're playing the Tennessee Vols, QB. In Knoxville. And how about that Tennessee coach running up into the stands, high-fiving every Tennessee fan that showed up at that stadium? That's what we're missing here, is some passion and some excitement. And they had that at Tennessee, bro.
Sandy says JC is ramped up on Mountain Dew. Dan says he loaded the coffee maker with Red Bull.
Well, a little grapefruit juice. I got my COVID shot yesterday, my Johnson & Johnson onesie, and I was feeling a little warm, and now I'm back, baby. I feel great. I mean, there are some things that do get me amped up a little bit, and that college football thing, the way these administrators just shove it down our throats the wrong way makes me mad. But you know what? They'll be okay. They'll figure it out. They're going to go to a playoff. We know that's going to happen, QB. We do know that. These 12 o'clock games, though, they're killers. They are absolute business and economic killers. So I know the media guys like it, but hell, we don't have as many media guys as we used to, especially with the newspapers anymore. So who cares, right?
Yeah. All right, it's time for the Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. It's time for the JC and the QB golf. JC had a tremendous week last week in golf. Now the tour, the week before the U.S. Open, they are traveling to Congaree, which is the Palmetto Championship. It's in South Carolina. It's an event or a course that they've never played before, which I like because we get to see something new. So since I'm going to go ahead and let you pick first, JC.
Okay. Well, I certainly believe that a lot of the good players are going to use this. Not that it will really help them next week, but it'll keep them playing because next week's tournament is in La Jolla, California. Different grass, different environment, different everything out there than what they're going to see this weekend. But I love, and I think it's time for Dustin Johnson to start ramping up his summer game. He has been very quiet this year. He's about to break out, and why not on a new course that nobody else knows? He's got the game to do it on any course. Give me Dustin Johnson.
That's a good pick. I mean, is he still the #1 player in the world?
I'm not sure because he really hasn't done much in the last 2 months. But
but it's got to be.
If he wants to be, he can be. Let's say that.
Well, he's probably played this golf course quite a bit, him living in the state of South Carolina and growing up there.
Yes. That's another reason I picked it.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and take the semi. My guy, Brooks Koepka.
Damn, that's what's my next pick.
Well, I love his game. I love his demeanor.
Him and DJ are clones. I mean, they're literally clones. They have the same length. They have the same personality on the course. They keep everything. They are clones, and they're very, very good players. They're as good as it gets in golf. So I love that pick, and that was going to be my second one, and you just fished it right out from under me there. Shoot, that's too bad. All right, well, I can't take my guy John Rahm, who I think is going to be eligible to play in the U.S. Open because of his COVID issues. So I can't take him. But I'll tell you who I'm going to take. This is kind of a tough field because a lot of these guys, there's a couple of really highly ranked players, but then there's a lot of what they used to call common players when you got baseball cards, you would say that's a common player. That's not a superstar. So we have a lot of common players playing in this tournament, and it's kind of hard for me to say to say who it is that I think is going to win. But I'm going to go with Kevin Kisner. He plays a solid golf. He's been up on the leaderboard. I think he's going to play well this weekend. It's a course that he probably knows well too. So since he's from this area.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Tommy Fleetwood.
Yeah, he's been kind of quiet this year too. But he at any minute he can break it out. Great iron player. I like his game too. That's a good pick. Okay, I guess I'll finish it up with I don't want to take him. I definitely don't want to take him. I'm going to go with a guy whose game has disappeared, but you never know on a tournament like this. He could come out of nowhere, and this is probably a bad pick, but give me J.B. Holmes.
Oh, I like JB.
JB's cool, but he's just not done it here recently.
I'm stuck between two guys. I don't know if I want Matthew Fitzpatrick or Sun J.M.
Well, you have a certain Korean love for golf.
Yes, I'm going to go with Sun J.M. as my third.
Okay, solid, right? I mean, these guys are so good that come over and play on these courses here. So that's good. Johnson, Kisner, Holmes for me, Koepka, Fleetwood, M for you. Hopefully we'll have somebody in the top 10.
Yeah. All right, JC. We'll talk to you soon. We're going to talk one of my favorites now. We're going to talk Gator recruiting.
And we got to get
excited about that.
And we got to get on the baseball regionals on Friday too.
Absolutely.
Super.
All right, JC. We'll talk to you on Friday. That's JC. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. Now we're going to go take our first time out of the program. We come back. We'll be joined by Blake Alderman talking Gator recruiting. You're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Big Mills Cheesesteaks, MB Listing, Cornerstone Financial, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Masters, Gainesville Neon and Signs, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Chick-fil-A on Archer Road, Avra and Smith, Dowling Signs, Chomp Harder Apparel, Ruse Ogra Agent, State Farm Insurance, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit podupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
For all type of restaurant people, managers, servers, bartenders, hosts, cooks, dishwashers, bussers. If you think you're good in the restaurant business, then give us a call.
Spurrier's Gridiron Grill job fair is open now. All you have to do is go to spurriersdraft.com and fill out an application.
We're looking for the good team members, and we're looking for people with a wonderful attitude that can make Spurrier's Gridiron Grill the best we can possibly be. To apply, go to spurriersdraft.com.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Center State Bank is now South State Bank, but we still put business first. We understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. South State still has 4 convenient Alachua County locations. South State Bank, banking forward, member FDIC. I want to thank JC for joining us. Also, don't forget one of our main sponsors, Silverback Concrete. They're still looking for some CDL drivers. If you're interested, check their website out at silverbackconcrete.co. And if you have any concrete issues just in your residence, give them a call. But now we're going to go to the Titan MR hotline, and we're going to be joined by Blake Alderman. You can follow Blake on Twitter at Blake_Alderman. He's the Florida Gator recruiting analyst for Swamp 24/7. Good morning, Blake. How are you, my man?
I'm great. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, we appreciate you. You know, everybody wants to talk recruiting, especially now that pretty much sports have died down. We got, some college baseball and softball going on, but the Gators this past weekend maybe it was 2 weekends ago. I've lost track, but big weekend on campus, finally having kids being able to see coaches face to face. What can you tell us that came out of that weekend?
Yeah, like you said, this past weekend was a big official visitor weekend. I haven't done this maybe the longest as some of these guys around the industry, but, in my years doing this, Florida had 13 official visitors on campus at the same time for a visit weekend. And that's the most I've ever had, at one collective time for an official visit. So, a really busy weekend for Florida. They had a lot of top tier guys, top tier targets, and I think that it says something that, Florida came right out of the gate that first official visitor weekend and had so many elite guys on campus. So, they made a move with a lot of these guys, bringing in not only two of their commits, and Nick Evers, their quarterback commit, and Isaiah Bond, a wide receiver commit, but just the wealth of talent Florida had, from graduating so many wide receivers this past season. They bring in, a 5-star in Gentry Williams out of Oklahoma, who's a big-time target at wide receiver for Florida, and another 5-star wide receiver in Evan Stewart. So, Florida had two of their top targets at the position on campus, another 5-star defensive lineman in Walter Nolan, who, heading into the visit, Florida had been a part of, top 12s and top, whatever's list as he's whittled it down. But it was always kind of one of those situations to where I always thought, is Florida in it? Yes. Are they in a really good position to land him? Probably not. But coming out of this visit, I think that visit completely changed the script. I don't think the visit could have gone better. I think if you had to put it in terms, I think Florida hit that visit out of the park. He comes out of the visit, saying Florida's up there in his top 3. He had a tweet that said that he was maybe ready to shut down his recruitment, kind of digging into some things. Me reading that tweet, I'm thinking, man, is this guy about to commit? Dang, did the visit go that good? And while he's not going to make a decision anytime soon, I think that if he does it maybe a little bit earlier, I think August might be the latest for him. I think that he's beginning to get tired of the process, fielding so many calls, dealing with so many coaches and all these kind of things. And I think he's starting to get overwhelmed at a certain point. So I think that Florida's in a great position. I think Michigan is also in there very much as well. He's going to take an official visit there in June. He's going to take an unofficial visit to Georgia. I think he'll visit Alabama at some point. He stopped by there for their spring game, but that was during the dead period. So that was more of a self-guided visit. So, Florida's really in the mix for Walter Nolan. Again, they just really did really well with that visit, had plenty of other targets on campus. A guy like Tyler Booker, who is easily, in my opinion at least, Florida's top target overall this cycle. Just the need for elite offensive linemen. Him being, a top 50 player himself, and a guy with size and skills coming from IMG Academy, which produces a lot of big-time guys. So, the list goes on. They had plenty of defensive linemen, edge guys, a running back, and some defensive backs on campus. So, 13 guys is a lot of guys to rattle off, but, there was just nothing but positives to come out of this visit weekend. And, I think having so many guys on campus at one point gave those guys a chance to hang around with each other and, kind of have them talk about, man, if we guys all teamed up, this would be, I guess like a super team type of thing. So, those are good conversations you want to have. I think there was a lot of positive buzz that came out of the visit weekend, and Florida's going to continue to keep rattling off these official visits for June, just after such a long layoff from visits. But, I think that this past weekend couldn't have gone better for Florida. I know everyone's waiting for the commitments. Where are the commitments, coming out of a big weekend like that? And me personally, I think that when these guys have had such a long layoff for visits, that I don't think you're going to see a ton of guys that commit right out of the gate. I think these guys have been waiting for these visits. They've been planning, they've been scheduling things, and I think a lot of these guys are going to continue to take some visits. So, while there weren't any commitments, I do think that this was a big-time visit weekend for Florida, and I think things couldn't have gone better.
Yeah, we're speaking with Blake Alderman here on the Titan More Hotline. Blake, if you got a question for Blake, shoot it to us on Facebook Live. We got one here on text. And it's interesting. I think a lot of people aren't familiar with this. It comes from Jim. He says, Blake, can you explain the official visit compared to a non-official visit, and how many do they get? So if a kid comes, say, this past weekend on an official visit, does he not have another official visit to be able to visit Gainesville? Does
Correct.
that make sense,
If
Blake?
you use your official, yes, it does. So in total, you get 5 official visits. You can start using those. in a normal year, you can start using those in the spring. Obviously, this year it was still a dead period, so that wasn't something they could do. So in a normal year, you can take some in the spring, obviously in the summer, as long as it's not during a dead period, and then the fall or even after the season. So you can officially visit a school one time. But that's depending on, there are some gray areas in that situation where, let's say I officially visit Florida for their spring game, but then after the season, the coach is fired or, there's a complete coaching turnover, the head coach is gone. That is the only gray area to where you would be allowed to do one again after a coach is rehired and, you can come back and see the new staff. So that's really the only loophole there. But, these guys that visited Florida for their official visit this past weekend, that's their one visit. If they want to come back to campus, they would have to be in an unofficial visit. And what an official visit is basically that all expenses are paid for by the coaching staff. Your flight, to bring your family and yourself, that's all paid for. Your hotel accommodations are all paid for. Your food is paid for. So basically the school picks up that tab. Whereas for an unofficial visit, you would have to pay for, a flight if you need to fly out somewhere, or, obviously your gas if you're driving there, or, your food and your hotel. So basically an official visit it's really a chance where these schools roll out that red carpet. They bring in these families and, it's shock and awe type of weekend for those.
So basically, I want to say that the quarterback commit, Nick Evers, was he on an official visit this past weekend?
He was. He's taken an unofficial visit on June 1st because that was the first day that the dead period opened up. So he was down for an unofficial visit, which was paid for by his family, driving down there. And they actually stayed on summer break at Clearwater Beach. And then was back this past weekend for his official visit. So, he's actually got a chance to visit Florida twice this month.
So if he, he's never stepped foot into the swamp with actually for a game or,
right.
fans or anything. So if he plans to do that during the football season, he will be paying for that himself on an unofficial visit, correct?
Correct. And he does plan to come down for a couple games. Obviously it's kind of far out. He didn't even, he even mentioned the possibility that he could come back in June sometime, just to come back and, maybe spend some time around guys if it's, a weekend or something to that effect before it has guys on campus for him to recruit some guys. So, he definitely wants to come back for some games, nothing's set up yet, but, I expect you'll see him in, in Gainesville quite a few more times before signing day.
At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Speaking with Blake Alderman, if you got a question about recruiting, shoot it to us. John asked here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law. What can you tell us about Gentry Williams and Evan Stewart? It looks like Nick Evers has been recruiting those guys hard.
He has. He definitely has. Evan Stewart actually plays on the same 7-on-7 team as Nick Evers. So, he's been in his ear. I thought that was a guy in Evan Stewart that, heading in that, Florida was in it, but, there were some teams ahead of him. But, I think that the fact that he was there this weekend with Nick, had him in his ear, Florida throws the ball a lot. I think that Florida really impressed him. The thing is for him is that I don't think he really has a set timeline for a decision. So, I think that if this one goes back and, maybe goes into the fall or some kind of thing like that, I think that Florida could stand to get him on campus again if he does extend his timeline out. At this point, the only official visit that he has planned out for the rest of this month in June is for USC that last weekend on the 25th. I thought that, even kind of heading into that visit, I had heard that Alabama, Georgia, schools like that were really in a good spot for him. But, talking to Evan after his official visit, he said that Georgia isn't in it for him anymore. So that he's let them know that, they're not in contention for him anymore. I think in-state Texas is a school to watch. He is a former Texas commitment. So, I think that there's still a ways to go in this recruitment, but I think Florida did a really good job on that official visit. He spent a lot of time around other wide receivers. He's obviously got Nick Evers in his ear, and Florida's going to continue to prioritize him and, really showed him, that they can get him the ball and put him in a successful positions, bringing up film of showing how they use guys like Kadarius Toney and other receivers that they've had drafted over these past couple years. And Gentry Williams, that's another guy that, I think that Oklahoma, the in-state school, because he lives in Tulsa, I do think that they're a big-time threat. His family, I think, went to Oklahoma or at least have some kind of ties to their program along from, being in state. I think Oklahoma is really the team to watch there. But, in my opinion, I think Florida's right there with them. I think that they really did a good job. They're prioritizing him just like Evan Stewart. But the interesting thing with Gentry Williams is that most schools are recruiting him as a defensive back. He is an athlete. He plays on both sides of the ball. He's actually a quarterback for his high school team. But, he's a guy that's really electric with the ball in his hands. And during the dead period when Florida was forced to do a lot of, Zoom meetings and, having virtual visits with guys, heading into his first virtual visit with Florida, he was kind of iffy on the fact that Florida was sitting there pitching wide receiver to him, whereas all these other schools are looking at defensive back. And, he's had Florida among top schools despite them talking about wide receiver. And, he could have easily have eliminated them if that was a big deal. But the fact that he's talked to this coaching staff and they have a plan for him of how they want to use him, how they want to use him as a weapon. That was one of the big things during those virtual visits that kept Florida along there, that maybe, early on, did he prefer playing defensive back? But the fact that Florida has a plan for him and is going to make him successful and, knows what they need to do to get him in a certain spot, I think that was one of the things that really stuck out to him. In this past weekend, he actually, got a chance to watch some film of Kadarius Toney and see the way they used him. And just seeing that plan that he had heard, with his own eyes and breaking down film, I think really helped Florida a lot, spending time around a lot of the players. A guy like Nick Evers, again, who was in the ear of, a lot of these wide receivers on campus. He's going to take an official visit to USC as well. He's probably going to visit LSU the weekend of June 25th. Oklahoma is a possible visit. I believe he said it was an unofficial visit. So, he's going to have some trips coming up. He doesn't quite know when he wants to make a decision. But I think Florida did a really good job there, just having the plan for him. And even Dan Mullen even said that, man, sometimes I could be wrong. Do I like you as a wide receiver? Yes. But if you come here and, and we get you on campus and, things just work out better for you as a defensive back, I'm not going to sit there and dismiss the fact that, if that's where you thrive at, that's where we'll put you at. So I think that was good for Florida to do that because recruiting him as an athlete, let the guy pick what position he wants to play. Do you want to bring him in as a wide receiver? Is that your plan? But if it doesn't work out, giving him that out to play another position too just shows that, they like him no matter where he's at. They like his skill set. So, again, I think Florida did a really good job with both of those guys.
And Dan asked back to the unofficial visits. So when a kid takes an unofficial visit, the kids can still go wherever they want on campus and have a staff member show them around. It's just the financial portion of the thing, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then Joseph wants to know here on Facebook Live, do we have a shot at, I'm not going to pronounce it. Is it Bougie, kid from Bainbridge?
Oh, Dion Bowie.
Bowie.
I think that early on, he's a former Georgia commit. He just decommitted from Georgia. I think it was last night, and that's coming off a visit to Texas A&M. He visited Florida early on. Right now I think that Florida's probably on the outside looking in, but with him decommitting, and open things up and backing off that Georgia commitment. If Florida can get him on campus, we'll see where that goes from there. But for right now, I think that's a guy that you need to get on campus, just because he's fresh off that decommitment. Really, he's visited schools. Obviously those were very early and before the dead period. But such a long layoff and such early visits, I think that's a guy that Florida could stand to get back on campus.
And Dan also asked, does Blake think these Zoom recruits, not just Florida's, could see a lot of them leave the schools with no real visits? I guess he's talking about guys that committed via Zoom, end up transferring. I think that's what he's saying.
I think that in general, those guys that maybe have, let's say if you committed to a school that you've never even visited, or you maybe visited early on and it was during Zoom time, I think a lot of those guys are going to take visits. I think that, regardless if they're committed or not, you're going to see a flux of guys that are taking visits. Even guys that are committed to Florida are taking some visits. Isaiah Bond, Florida's wide receiver commit, is planning to visit Miami and Alabama this month. Francois Knowlton, Florida's defensive end commit, was at Florida State this past Monday. And Julian Humphrey, Florida's defensive back commit, has been taking a little bit of a tour with a 7-on-7 team around to some other schools. So I think it's just a year where you're going to see a lot of guys take visits just because it's been such a long hold off. And I think that some of these guys that now they're able to take visits, maybe if you committed during, Zoom in the dead period, could you make a decision to where it's not maybe one you're totally comfortable with down the line, when you have to live there and experience that? I think that, I think it's possible some of those guys could transfer down the road, but I think that they're also going to be able to go visit these schools and actually experience it. So, before signing day, you would think a guy's going to get on campus so that he would kind of have an idea of what he's getting into.
Yep. Last thing for you, Blake. I've been banging the drum for the last 10 years about facilities. We finally topped off, put the last beam on the roof of the new facility yesterday. It's more than just a vision now. Recruits are actually seeing what's going up. It's got to be helping the Gators, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think that those kind of facilities and those type of things, all the bells and whistles, those are things that those kids really like. You look at a place that's got like a recording studio and a barber shop and, like a little lazy river type things. Those are just things that, a lot of those kids are really going to be enamored with. And I think that, when you look at all these other schools, the Alabamas, the Clemsons, all these other schools, Clemson, I think, is the one that I always use for my comparison, just because they were the first real, standalone type of facility with all these bells and whistles to show recruits. And, those kids where you watch them come out, out of a Clemson visit, they always really praise the facilities. They always are really high on all those type of things. And I think that, having them is just something that's going to, facilities at college football programs, it's an arms race. If you don't have them, you're getting left behind. So I think it's time, a good time that Florida's getting those things put in there. Will a kid say, yeah, I committed to Florida because they have this new standalone facility? Probably not. It could be relationships with the coaches, proximity to home, the need for their position, development. I think those things are what really leads to those type of commitments. But having those type of facilities just keeps you in the race with a lot of these other schools because, if you're breaking down the pros and cons in the school, if school A has one and you're school B and you don't have one, that could be one thing to get you crossed off the list. So I think having those things are beneficial.
Absolutely. Blake, great stuff as always, my man. Let everybody know how they can check out your work.
Yeah, Swamp 24/7. It's Florida Gators 24/7 website. Obviously a busy month of June with official visitors, camps, unofficial visitors coming into town. So, I keep saying to myself that I need to find someone who can figure out how to clone me so I can be in more places than one just because, man, it's going to be a busy month. So, and I'm on Twitter. I put all my content from the site out through there. So, like I said, man, it's going to be a busy one. So you guys say a little prayer for me while I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off this month.
Don't work too hard, my man. Great stuff as always. We'll talk to you soon, Blake.
Thanks a lot.
That's Blake Alderman. Join us on the Titan MR Hotline. Going to take our final time out, come back, wrap up this Wednesday edition.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise. G-Tech Sport, keep your athletes in the game with G-Tech Sport. QC Kinetics, non-surgical regeneration, live pain-free. Celebration Point Town Center, Center State Bank, Chris Doring Mortgage. Some of our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Adams Rib Company, Doreen Wiebe Realtor Caldwell Banker, M.M. Parish, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Rap Spot, Okido America, Gators Dockside, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Silverback Concrete Company. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, visit potupwithshane.com and click the advertise button. Again, thank you to all the great businesses that support the show. If you like what we are doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, Celebration Points, where the Gators go to celebrate with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, Dave & Buster's, Nike, Le Macaron French Pastries, Kilwins, and coming summer of 2021, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurs Gridiron Grill, and Vigors Tailgate and Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank JC and Blake Alderman for joining us on the Titan MR Hotline. Also, Dan, I agree 100% with what you said here. We're referring to the facilities. It will not get you someone, but you can lose one without those things. There is no question. That's why we have not been on an even playing field for so long when it comes to recruiting. I hope you enjoyed the show today. Make sure you follow us and like us on all those different podcast platforms. Today's show's a wrap, brought to you by Rap Spot. See you tomorrow, folks. Take care.